Hi guys, thanks for checking the video out. So, Mr. Buzzman has taken a lot of abuse on social media the last few weeks about my putting. A lot of people have opinions on it, so I thought I'd do a quick video just to kind of clarify what's going on. And it's interesting that yes, in Ireland I putted beyond poor, but what you have to understand is it's not a competitive round. When we're doing vlogs, we're filming, it's not a competitive environment. The score is kind of irrelevant. Since I've filmed in Ireland, I've played 4 competitive rounds, and those were the rounds that I needed to prepare for. So it's quite a good example of when you see when somebody's trying to implement changes, how the performance sometimes goes down a bit before it goes up. In Ireland I was trying to change quite a few things. Not only was I trying to put aim point into, so actually looking at my green reading, which actually I felt like I did quite well considering I'd only known it for a couple of days. I mean, I had to try it. It's not nice trying it for the first time in front of the camera, but I had to try it in order for it to be ready for when I played in the competitive rounds the weeks after. So I was actually pleased with that. The reason why nothing was going in was the stroke. I mean, it wasn't the green reading. The stroke was struggling because I'm struggling to line up. So I've had quite a few comments that aren't very helpful at all. You know who you are. But I had a lot of people trying to give me some advice. I'm talking about maybe going back to basics, doing this, that and the other. The biggest issue I'm having is lining up the putter blade. A good example of somebody that tends to be struggling with lining up is you'll see they keep changing putters. I mean, if you've been watching the vlogs, you'll see I've been switching in and out of putters. I've been doing that in competitive rounds as well, like struggling to settle on a putter. I was fortunate for Jamie from Aim Point actually had a look at my putting, and he addressed how the aiming up was bad. I mean, that was something I already knew, but he actually said I was aiming left when I felt like I was aiming right. So when you get in that sort of situation, your confidence goes and it becomes very troublesome, because obviously you're calibrated completely opposite to what you think you're doing. He recommended that I use a blade putter because I tend to use the leading edge to line up. So he felt like the mallet that I was using was hindering. It was actually that lump of metal at the back wasn't really helping me with my alignment. As I'd seen him so early to going, I decided not to change putters. If you've seen the vlogs in Ireland, I wish I had. Lots of comments as well about me looking at the hole. That's based around a biomechanical study that Sasha McKenzie did. I mean, he did this a few years ago, and he was comparing sort of darts, snooker, lots of activities like that, and saying, well, in those ones you look at the target. My putting, the major issue isn't the stroke. So I get a lot of comments about what the stroke's looking like. It's actually the pace of the stroke. I mean, if you might have seen stuff with Mark, when I hit 5 balls, I mean, there's a lot of variance between the strokes. So it's not that like the stroke, like the path is bad, it's just like the speeds of it changes a lot. Whereas like Mark is a very good putter, his stroke looks worse, but he repeats that stroke better. So that's kind of why I have the issues that I have. Looking at the hole, I mean, the research has shown can help with that. So I'm trying to make a change that's a functional change. So I know what the problem is, so I'm trying to implement something that actually helps. This research showed that you get worse before you get better. I did some vlogs before Ireland, and actually certainly putting better. I was really struggling with left to right putts, and I found actually being able to look at the point in which it's going to break from like 6 feet, and that's really helped. I can kind of see why like Jordan Spieth's doing it for that reason. I really like the feeling of that. From longer distances it felt horrific to start with, but it's starting to feel a bit better. So again, as it's not a competitive environment, I was trying to do it the whole time. Doesn't help that Mark is doing that a lot, but again, it is actually a really good example of how when you try to implement changes, if you give up on it because it doesn't work straight away, you'll probably find that you're not going to then get on that upward curve and actually get your performance improving. And this isn't just putting. I mean, I'm using putting as the example because I can relate to you at home, because it's quite obvious that I can struggle with it at times. But if you're struggling with driver, it's the same concept. If you go for a lesson, they ask you to make a change, and if it doesn't work the first time you take it out, you've just got to sort of persevere and really try and work through the change. And then what might happen, performance goes down a bit, but then it shoots up to a far greater level than it started at. That's what we want when we're giving lessons, is trying to get you to jump up. Sometimes it doesn't happen straight away, but that's just the nature of how we learn. So yeah, so again, and I'm happy to answer any question about my putting. So put some comments down if you've got any questions of why I've been doing certain things. Yeah, whack it down, and I'll happily answer it. But yeah, pleased to report it was better in the events I played. So although unfortunately you got to see the struggle, I felt, and you can see I've changed into a blade, I changed a few other things, and I felt that I was actually very competent, especially cleaning up in those events. So in terms of my putting, I was actually very pleased. But yeah, got any questions, get them below. Do you struggle with maybe not only your putting, but have you found having lessons, you maybe got a bit worse before you got better? I'd like to hear that as well. Hope to catch you soon.